Hello and welcome. My name is Dennis Mabuka, and in this video we'll be looking at how I went about animating this Ethereum logo and just setting up the materials and creating this final product that you see. This was one of my entries for the Infinite Machine movie project, and you can follow their Twitter right here if you want to learn a bit more about the project. So the first thing we'll do is to model the Ethereum logo. And instead of doing that from scratch, I'm just bringing in an SVG version of the logo. And then I'll duplicate that collection and have two copies where one is in the curves. And then the other copy I'll convert into a mesh. And then I'll just get in there and do a bit of cleanup using the merge by distance and make sure that I just have a nice and clean mesh with triangles for the faces. I'm then going to select these two vertices and just pull them out a bit and then add a mirror modifier so that I can reflect that those faces onto the other side to create a nice and even Ethereum logo. After that, I will add a bevel modifier to just add a few bevels at the edges to catch the light when I light this model. I'll then apply those modifiers and just go into edit mode and subdivide this a bit, and that just gives us nice triangular faces which we're going to play around with to just use those edges to catch the light, like in this animation. Now, with the logo nice and modeled, we have that really nice looking topology which we're going to use in a sec. Next thing we want to do is like set up the displacement that's being created by the music. So I'll just Shift S and then cursor to world origin, and then right there I'm going to add an empty and plane axis. I'm then going to select the logo, the ETH logo, and go to the modifier tab and add a displace modifier. And then I am going to add a new texture and then call that displace. Then just go into the textures tab, set the type to clouds, and then I can start playing with the scale right there. And then one more thing I'll do is I will set from grayscale to color, and then back inside the displace modifier, we'll set the displace direction to RGB to XYZ. That's looking good. And then, so the next thing I can do is just reduce the strength in the displace modifier. And you can see how that topology, that really triangular topology that we got after modeling, the displacement is really helping to just exaggerate that kind of triangular topology. And then when we go into the shading, when the displacement occurs, when that pulse is beating and then the displacement occurs, these shapes kind of catch that light in different angles, and I just like that effect that it gives, that the logo kind of gleams when the heart is pumping. So I'll select the empty that we created, and then before selecting the empty, I'll select the logo, come to the texture coordinates and set it to object, and then select that empty. So now when you select the empty and move it around or rotate it, you'll see that it's influencing the displacement on the mesh. So the thing that I want to do is I will come and set a keyframe in the Z rotation of this empty, and then I'll move into the animation workspace. So I'll just zoom in there, make sure I have the extras selected so I can see it. So I'll select that empty, and with the keyframe set to the Z rotation, I'll move into the graph editor and then add a modifier, and then I'll add a generator. So what this does, let's just adjust this window right here. If I zoom out, you'll see that it creates this curve. And if I play that in the timeline, you'll see how the empty is rotating. So I'll just tweak this value to kind of get the rotation to a speed that I like, and then just looking at how it's influencing the mesh. And then I think I might go back into the textures of the object and then play around with the size and see that I have something like that. Yes, so with that we have an empty that's rotating and it's influencing the texture that we've put on the logo. So the last thing we want to do here to just complete this is we'll come here to the displace modifier and set a keyframe in the value of the strength. So I'll press I, and then in the curve editor I'll come here and right here go to key and then bake sound to F curves. So I have here the audio of the pulse, and I want it to pick the really low frequencies, so somewhere between 0 to 150 hertz, and then I'll just hit bake sound. And when doing this, you want to make sure that the playhead on the timeline will be on the first frame. So if you just play this around, you'll see what that looks like, and that looks nice and responsive. And I really like how as the pulse beats, you really get to see that topology, and as that topology, the different faces catch the light at different angles, it really gives the whole logo a kind of crystalline yet organic kind of structure, which I really like about this effect. Now as for the material, for this logo here, I just have a principled shader that's set to metallic, and then I have a texture that's feeding into the roughness, and it's nothing fancy there, just a simple metallic shader where I plug in the roughness to play around with the texture of the metal shader. And then I also have the clear coat turned all the way to 1, and this is because I want, as the logo convulses, I want those triangular faces to catch that light and kind of reflect that in like a really cool way. So that's why I have the clear coat turned all the way up. And then I have a collection here of lights which I just strategically placed. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And when you play, you can see how that animation, that audio drives that displacement, which is really cool. It gives it kind of like a mechanical yet organic feel at the same time. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. If you like it, do all the things for the algorithm. Check out the project The Infinite Machine on Twitter. Check out their OpenSea. And yeah, I will see you in the next one.